extra and exclusive ASMR videos from me every month for just $3 a month, less than a coffee, and really exciting. I have just hit 50 Patreons, and so as a thank you to my Patreons, I am doing a dedicated saying your names video on Patreon. In October, it will be October's first video, so if you guys want to take part in that video or are interested in joining my Patreon, you can do so down below in the description. Yeah, that's that. So let's get into the story time. So let's start at the beginning, because the beginning is a very good place to start. And me and my boyfriend, we had been together not that long. I think we'd been together like 6 months. But life was really kind of changing for us at that point. This is like 3 years ago now, guys. I was going off to university and he had just kind of got like a newer job, and we both very much felt like we needed a change. I definitely wanted to move out of my parents' house. I love my parents, I have a great relationship with my parents, but I've always been very independent, and I knew from like a young age that as soon as I was 18 I was gonna like fly the nest. However, I did not want to live in student accommodation. Sorry, that was my stomach rumbling. I knew I did not want to live in student accommodation. I am a very homely person, and the idea of living in like big halls like full of people, it did not vibe with me. So I was looking for a place, and then, you know, my boyfriend and I just kind of thought, hey, let's just move in together. Like, it makes sense, it makes financial sense. I know we've only been together for 6 months, but like, you know, we're in love, let's do it. So yeah, all of my friends were like, Libby, what the hell are you doing moving in with a man after 6 months? And I was just like, oh, it'll be alright, we're still together, so it was fine. Anyway, so we started looking for apartments in the town that we wanted to live. It's a pretty big town, kind of near London. Well, it's on like the easy transport links to London, and my university is in London. And we found a place that we really liked. It was a new building. All of the apartments were brand new. They looked stunning. I mean, they were very basic, but you know, it was like fresh white walls, nice grey carpets, you know, it was very bright. The apartment building had a nice big gym and a roof terrace, so it was lovely, and we knew pretty much straight away that that is where we wanted to live. And it was pretty expensive, but we could afford it just about, and it was like in the centre of the town, so like we'd never have to spend any money on like transport or anything. So that's what we did. All is going well right now. I bet you guys are thinking, well, that doesn't sound very hellish to me, but trust me, it gets a lot worse. So we moved in pretty quickly, and we settled in, and everything was fine. This is in September we moved in, guys. I can't remember the year, 2017, 2018, I don't know, so it was September, and all was well, everything was fine. There were a few kind of things that were were the very moody site manager. So the lady that was like the manager of the building was so rude to other like tenants, and like I'd often hear her like kind of shouting at the tenants and stuff. My immediate reaction to that was obviously that they'd done something wrong, and it didn't really click in my mind that she was just a horrible person. I just wanted to mind my own business. So that was that really, and everything was fine. However, only like a month into the tenancy, so in October, we started experiencing some issues with our hot water. Like the shower would never go very warm, it would just kind of be tepid, and like, you know, washing like the sink for washing dishes would just never get hot. And I was thinking, is it something that we've done? And then we kind of asked the site manager about it, and she very much dismissed it. And so we thought that, you know, it just happened and it would just kind of fix itself. But after like a few weeks, it just got worse and worse, and eventually by November we had no hot water at all. If I could go back in time and, you know, experience that again, I would have been a lot more firm with the manager, and I would have said, listen, like, we're not getting hot water, it's lukewarm, we need it fixed now. But because I was young, I just kind of was awkward, and so was my boyfriend, and we just kind of like got on with it. Anyway, by November we had no hot water at all, and I didn't really know this, but it is a legal requirement. If you are like in a tenancy, it's a legal requirement to have hot water, right? And by this point we had spoken to some of the other people in our apartment building, and they also had no hot water, so it was an issue with the actual building, not just an issue like with our flat. And basically, to cut a very long part of this story short, we had no hot water until February or March. So basically throughout the whole winter our apartment did not have hot water or heating. The heating did not work either because they ran off the same boiler. So yeah, that was that. We had no hot water throughout winter, and they didn't do anything about it. It was one of the worst times ever because we were just so frustrated that they weren't fixing it, and obviously because none of us were getting hot water, well, some of the people on the higher floors were getting like lukewarm water, but basically nothing. We were all complaining, and they would constantly, every week, we would get an email saying we've got people coming to look at the boiler, the main boiler system, unfortunately, blah blah blah, because of this, blah blah blah. It might take a whole month to fix, and it was constant excuses. Again, if I could go back in time, I would have probably hired a lawyer, just because I know a couple of other residents did hire lawyers because it is literally illegal. Like, obviously a building can't help it if the boiler breaks, but it is their responsibility to fix it as soon as possible. And like I said, we went months without hot water. We had to boil the kettle to run a bath so we could like wash. It was horrific and awful. So that's kind of the first thing, that it just was ongoing stress and it would never get fixed. But my lord, that is not even the beginning. All the while this was going on, like the internet barely worked, and they would constantly say, oh, it's because you've got too many devices. And me and my boyfriend were like, we both have a laptop and a phone, like that's 4 devices. We didn't even have a TV. Like, you know what I mean? It was just ridiculous. And another time careful, I would often leave my key inside the apartment. But we got home at like 6:30 and we'd done a food shop, so we had all of our groceries, and they are like electronic keys, you know, when it's like a boop and it like beeps. A fob, I think they're called. My boyfriend went to use his key and it didn't work. It wouldn't let us in the door, and we tried for like 10 minutes and we were like, what? Why are we locked out of our own home? This is ridiculous. And eventually one of our neighbours walked past and saw, and he was like, oh no. And we were like, what? And he was like, I've heard of that happening to quite a few different people. Basically that key is just not going to work now. You are not going to be allowed into your apartment. And we were like, what the hell? And because it was like 7 o'clock at night by this point, the site manager had just gone home. So we phoned the emergency contact line because her phone was completely turned off. She used to turn her phone off as soon as she left work, which I mean I kind of understand because she's off the clock. So we had to phone the emergency phone line, and it took ages, and I was so upset. I was so exhausted. We were just sat in the hallway outside of our apartment. All of our groceries were just sat there. We'd both had a long day at work. And my boyfriend finally got through to somebody, and they basically said like, yep, don't worry, we've got someone coming to you as soon as possible. So we were like, okay, fine, good. So we went and sat in like the downstairs like communal lounge area with all of our food shopping, and we just kind of sat there. And then like 45 minutes went past, and my boyfriend was like, look, we haven't even had a phone call, so I'm gonna call again. And they called again, and they were like, oh, don't worry, like you're next up on the list, like don't worry, it will be like half an hour maximum. So we wait again. By this point it is like 9:30 at night, and we've left the apartment building to go and get food. All of our groceries are like melting. I just couldn't even look at them because I was just thinking of the wasted money. I was like, oh, all of like the fridge stuff and the freezer stuff. Anyway, we got back from dinner and we were thinking, surely they'll be here any moment. Still nothing. So my boyfriend called once again and was like, listen, like we have been waiting for hours. Where is this person? And the guy on the phone was just like, oh, yeah, I've got a rough ETA. He'll be with you at around midnight. And I just looked at my boyfriend and I just remember I just burst into tears. I was crying so much because I was exhausted. We had nowhere to go. We didn't have any friends in town. Like we had nowhere to go. All of our food was just kind of like ruined at this point. It had been hours and I was so exhausted after work. I just started crying, and eventually we just had to sit in the lounge and wait, and eventually this man came at 12:30 at night, and what he did, he was a nice guy, don't get me wrong. What he did is he took a hammer and he smashed our front door in, and he like kind of reached around and unlocked it from the other side. There was a massive hole in our door, and he was like, there you go. managed to find the guy who broke the door, and he had to like say a report saying, yeah, I broke the door, not them. It was horrific. So yeah, that happened. All the while I couldn't go back home and have a nice hot shower because we didn't have any water. So yeah. Another thing, oh, this is awful. I don't even know if I want to say this on YouTube because this is really bad, but I'm just gonna say it. My boyfriend and I, we were on the ground floor of the apartment building because I'm scared of fires. So I wanted to be on the ground floor. Anyway, we were on the ground floor, and one day, goodness, I don't even know what month it was, but we definitely didn't have hot water. I think actually it was, I don't know, February time at this point. I remember waking up, my boyfriend had gone to work, and I had the day off, and I remember going to the bathroom, and when I opened the bathroom door, there was a really awful smell, right? And I blamed it on my boyfriend. I blamed it on my boyfriend. I didn't, I blamed it on my boyfriend. And I just thought, oh, that's gross. But then like I kind of went into the living room, and the smell was like really, really strong, and it was coming from the kitchen as well. So it was in the bathroom, but then I smelt it in the kitchen, and it was like really, really strong, guys. And I just thought, like, what the hell is that? And I kind of figured out that it was the drains. And I just thought, gosh, like maybe there's been a blockage somewhere. You got to remember that this is like a flat building of like a lot of flats, you know, like hundreds of people. So like, okay, fair enough that the drains might get blocked time to time, and we are on the ground floor, and so the drains are like immediately below us, you know, logically. But honestly, the smell was kind of everywhere, and it was gross and intoxicating. I grew up in the countryside, guys, and it was worse than anything I'd smelled before in my life. And I was in the bedroom, and our bedroom had a big window in it, and the window looked onto like the car park. And I was like in the bedroom, and it still smelled so bad, so I opened the window, and I was like, oh my goodness, like I was like, oh my god. And it was like outside, it was outside, and I looked outside, and there's, you know, drains on the floor, and everything. You have them all over the place in England. I don't know if it's the same everywhere else. They're literally everywhere. On the floor, it was just this kind of swamp of brown liquid and toilet paper. I'm just gonna say, and toilet paper right outside our flat building, right outside our window. And I honestly, I feel sick thinking about it. I feel sick thinking about it. But yeah, the drains had exploded and overflown, and it flooded the car park. I remember looking out of the window and seeing this guy come out of the other door to go into his car, and I remember him, like, his face when he walked out of the flat, his face was like, what? And yeah, it was horrific. And they didn't clean it for 3 days. Yep. My boyfriend came home. Luckily, he parked his car on the other side, and he was like, what is that? And obviously all of the other residents at this point were like, what is going on? And yeah, it was, yeah, you know what it was. The drains had exploded, and that's what happened, and they didn't clean it for 3 days. Horrific. Surely you could hire a team to come and do it quicker. I don't know. I actually remember staying with a friend, not the night, but I remember going to her house like twice in the row because I couldn't stand being at home with the smell. I've been talking for like 50 years. I thought I would just tell you guys like the main bad ones. The fact that we didn't have hot water throughout winter, the fact that there was human excrement outside our door for 3 days, and yeah, no Wi-Fi, that kind of thing, that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to my hellish first apartment story. I have recently just moved house, as you guys are aware, I'm sure, and we live in a lovely, clean little house now. So hopefully there will be no more drama stories about my living situation coming soon. But yeah, I hope you guys are doing so well. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you are looking forward to my new content. I've got loads of ideas that I want to materialize for you guys. So hopefully